Thank you, Rickford, and to Pastor Richards and to Pastor Mounter, to the distinguished elders, Elder Leonce, to the Shiloh Seventh-day Adventist Church. You know, my colleague Letitia James and I are here today because we want to send a very clear message to Michael Bloomberg. And we want to send a very clear message to Ray Kelly. And we want to send a very clear message to the NYPD that our community stands with the Shiloh Seventh-day Adventist Church. And we stand with Pastor Richards. We stand with Kendall Jones. We stand with the Jones family. Now, I have great respect for the police, but we just want to make sure the police have great respect for us. We're not asking for special treatment. We're not asking to be treated favorably. We're just asking to be treated with the same fairness as everybody else. Now, when you think about what took place that night, the sanctity of the church being violated, 15 or 18 officers running all through this church during the Holy Sabbath. How could such a thing happen? They say to us, well, we were in hot pursuit of a young man. At best, they believed that he had engaged in a minor traffic infraction. And we don't know why the young man chose to run. That will be worked out in the criminal justice process. But I also believe that, though we don't urge it, I wonder what was running through his mind. He could have had visions of Amadou Diallo running through his mind. He could have had visions of Abner Louima running through his mind. He could have had visions of Sean Bell running through his mind. Can I talk? He could have had visions of Omar Edwards running through his mind. He could have had visions of Patrick Dorismond. The list goes on and on, running through his mind. And perhaps he just thought that he could find some peace and tranquility, a smooth transition in his house of worship. That's not an unreasonable thought. But then they say, well, you know, we just ran after him maybe because we were trying to figure out why he was running. Like all black young men in Crown Heights are inherently violent, inherently criminal. That's the message that type of statement mentality says to me. You know, we worked hard in this country to move forward with the civil rights movement, and we know that we've killed Jim Crow. He's buried down in the ground. But though Jim Crow may be dead, he still got a few nieces and nephews that are alive and well. And so then he's confronted at the church, all these officers running in, and as Councilwoman James so eloquently articulated, no exigent circumstances, no evidence that a felony or a misdemeanor had been committed. He wasn't an alleged kidnapper. He wasn't an alleged rapist. He wasn't an alleged murderer. No evidence whatsoever that he presented a threat to the danger or safety of anybody. But even if they believed that something was amiss, we know that they were confronted at the church by Elder Leonce. Like the gentleman we know he is. I know he wasn't threatening. One of the most peaceful men of God you could ever run across. And so we know he said, how can I help you? Identified himself as the highest ranking officer in the church. Can we cooperate with you? How can we bring about a peaceful resolution to this situation? And they just ignored him like he was nobody. On the holy Sabbath in a house of worship, ran right up into the church, running all about. Now, they say to us after the fact, of course, well, Commissioner Kelly, they ask him, your pastor's been so eloquent in speaking to this issue. We want an apology. He says, well, the police were just doing their job. We don't know if this young man may have presented a danger to the congregants. Well, That really makes no sense when you think about how they conducted themselves in the church. Now, if they thought that the young man presented a danger, don't you think they may have said something to Elder Leons? If they thought he presented a danger, don't you think they would have isolated the young children who were in Bible study? If they thought he presented a danger, don't you think they would have evacuated the church? If anything, it was their behavior running up in here with 15 officers, all with guns, that presented a danger to the people who were at Shiloh Seventh-day Adventist Church. And you know, Tish, we got to figure out, where are these 15 officers? When you go through Crown Heights, we walk the street. I don't see 15 officers on a given night in the entire Crown Heights community. But for this young man, they found 15 officers. And then, you know, lastly, you got to wonder, and Congresswoman Clark touched upon this, you know, this notion that all of our young men in particular, just by being young men of color in our community, are suspects, and we believe that inherently they present a danger. This is the mindset of some elements of law enforcement. Don't take my word for it. Their own statistics suggest that. Now, every year for the last 8 or 10 years, the NYPD has been forced to keep statistics on stops and frisks in New York City. And what we found, Councilwoman James and I, that every year they've been stopping and frisking over 500,000 New Yorkers. 500,000. This is the NYPD's own statistics. But guess what? Those statistics also say to us that 90% of the people that they stop are young, black, and Latino. But it gets worse. By their own statistics, the NYPD has said to the world that 90% of the people that they stop, 9 out of 10 individuals, are innocent. 90% of the people that they stop, by the NYPD's own statistics, haven't done a thing wrong. And these are the people we think can come to a reasonable decision that they thought Kendall Jones was a criminal. They're wrong 90% of the time. I'm not sure I'm relying on somebody that's wrong 9 out of 10 times to tell me who's a criminal. They violated the sanctity of the church. And so we're here just to say to you that we stand firmly behind you. We're demanding an apology from Commissioner Kelly. If this would have happened at St. Patrick's Cathedral, he would have been in Mass the next day, apologizing, and he would have been in confessional, begging for forgive me. Can I talk? And so we're asking for him to apologize, and we're also asking for protocols to put in place so that we can prevent this type of incursion into a church again. You can't treat a church like it's a drug den, like this is a crack house when it's a house of worship. We ain't gonna let you get away with it. And so I know that the NYPD is a very powerful paramilitary organization. Ray Kelly's a powerful commissioner. Michael Bloomberg is real powerful. Some of my staff members said, Hakeem, are you nervous in taking on this fight? I said, I'm not nervous because I know these are some powerful folks, but I know something else because I grew up in the Cornerstone Baptist Church. That we serve a mighty God. That we serve a powerful God. That he sits high and he looks low. And as long as we continue to order our steps in God's word, as long as we continue to walk by faith and not by sight, justice will prevail for the Shiloh Seventh-day Adventist Church.